Alrighty. Hey everybody. I got a little under 15 minutes left on my lunch break. Alright, well that was smart of him. So now I can't get that fork I wanted. Thinking about going after the bishop though. So say comes here. Go after the bishop. If the rook takes, or even if the king takes, I can have some discovered attacks.
Hello there, Dustin.
Hello, Father Tom. That's the Father Tom is the priest at the church I used to go to. My parents still go to the church. He's also one of our customers. Coffee customers. Now, this guy's likely going to come here because he wants to maintain pressure on the pawn at d3. It's technically pinned to my queen right now at c2. But that's probably the easiest solution. And then, if he does something like this, checkmate. Now, let's say he does this. I can do this and go after that bishop. And if they capture the knight, checkmate. Another option I have is I can take out this knight. So now there's only one defender on the pawn. However, it is a bishop, and then I can do this. That's probably likely what I'll do. I have to see how my opponent's going to respond, of course. That's a very good move. Very good move. So now the problem here is if I come here, he's got this. Now I'd likely play this. I'm going to lose the bishop in this situation. There's no avoiding that. I think that might be the best line. Okay. So I'm going to bring my kingside rook over here, which is a little atypical, but not in this situation. My opponent castled queenside. So I'm going to get my rooks on the queen side of the board, and then push the pawns and try to pretty much press him in, against the back rank, open up the pawns, so take down his defenders. What are my ratings at? 1801. It's not bad. Ah, my opponent resigned here. I think I may have already looked at that, I'm not sure. Okay. Good idea to castle. My opponent will likely castle. I'll pressure the bishop. That's probably the best response for him. I can push this pawn here. And if you try something like that, I have a capture en passant. Queen would likely come down. I'd probably file up my rook. He'd really want to get that bishop in the action somehow. Might push here. In this situation, I'd probably come here. Now that pawn can't move because it's pinned. We can deflect here. So I'd probably fall back as such. Now we've got two attackers on the pawn at d5. Excuse me, e5. Pawn at e5. Three attackers. We have three attackers on the pawn at e5. He only has two defenders. Probably be pretty awkward for him to... Actually, you know what? Take all this back. I would do this. He would probably have to do that. And then we would see this. In this situation, he can come here to bring another defender on that, but now I have enough attackers to come out ahead on the exchange. I think a better idea for him would be pinning my knight to the rook. So I do have a pretty decent response here. That would be a good idea for him. Now the problem with this is now I have stacked pawns. The file my king is on is semi-open. It's an open file. It's what is it? Is it called semi-open or half-open? I forget what Nimzovich calls it. It's Aaron Nimzovich. He wrote a wonderful book called My System. He struggled in his early career as a chess player. He did eventually attain the title of Grandmaster and started winning in tournaments left and right. It was very impressive. Sadly, he died at a young age. He was certainly a contender for the world, the World Chess Champion, or the World Chess Championship. First half of Aaron Nimzovich's book, My System, really lays down the foundation of what's known as the hypermodern school of chess theory. A lot of people love the first half. The second half is a little different. Some of his concepts and ideas are difficult to grasp. Alright, so that's very good for him, but it's also good for me. So now we've got two pawns. This is the only issue. We have two pawns on the queen side that he's got, both on open files. Two pawns on the king side, not developed. I have three opposing pawns on the king side. The issue here, if the rooks get off the board, and it's just kings and pawns, he could easily push pawns on one side. I'd have to run over there with my king, and then he could come back on the other side. Of course, I'm going to go after the queen side pawns because those two pawns on the king side of his are going to be opposed by my three. But if he can manage to get to my backwards pawn that's supporting all those other two pawns, he takes that out, he can sweep the rest. So that's a concern for sure. And what I have to do here is I have to get my pawns either locked up or off the board. And ironically enough, that's the only chance I'm going to have to get a stalemate and not to lose. Of course, I can't win unless I promote one of those pawns, which honestly looks very unlikely. Alright, I'll check back on this game later.